What's up, everybody? Today, we're going to look at social media, and we're going to pull back the curtain and share with you how it might be affecting you in some ways you're not aware of. Before we get into that, I want to give us a little bit of a gift. I want to give you about 30 seconds of silence. Perhaps you've had a tough week. Perhaps this weekend hasn't been as restful as you hoped it is. Maybe you've carried some stuff into this sacred space. So if you would you just close your eyes, take a big, deep breath. We're going to do what the psalmist says, and be still and know that he is God. If there's anything you need to let go of, anything you need to tune out, I just want to invite you to do it, just for maybe 20 more seconds. Jesus, thank you for the invitation to come and to follow you. We confess that there are times when that becomes difficult and where stumbling blocks are put in front of us. So we ask today that you would open our eyes, you would open the ears, open our hearts so that we can discern your kingdom of heaven breaking into our lives this morning. And I pray for myself. I ask that you would stand in my body, that you would speak with my mouth, you would think with my mind, those things that you would have us know, say, and do. In the name of the Father, Son, and Spirit, we pray. Amen. Raise your hand for me if you actively use social media or have used social media like Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. Raise your hand, keep it up. Everyone look around. Basically, everyone in the room. Those of you who do not have your hand raised, you are the smartest people. Congratulations. You might not know it, but every piece of content that is put in front of you on your phone or your TV or your computer is not suggested to you by accident or by chance. Behind the scenes, there is a very sophisticated piece of technology that has been watching you. It's been paying attention to what you like, what you don't like, what you search for, what you're interested in. I think it listens to us as well. It pays attention to what you comment on, what you say in the comment, whether you share it with friends or not. And this job is to build what's called an audience profile about what you like. And it filters out all the noise on the internet, and its job is to recommend to you the next piece of content that it thinks you are going to like and engage with and enjoy. And it's really good at this. And if you see a piece of content and you click on it, whether that's a post from a friend or a video or an article or a meme or an image, and you like it and you enjoy it, what happens in your brain is this little chemical called dopamine that releases and it makes you feel good. It's a pleasure chemical. And you want more of that. And so you keep scrolling, you keep watching, you keep clicking, and before long, some time has passed. And when that happens, these platforms have successfully captured and harvested the most important resource on the planet. Not time, not money, your attention. Whether you know it or not, we live in the attention economy. Have you noticed that everybody, everywhere, at all times is screaming for your attention? Notifications, text messages, ads, everywhere you go, people are saying, hey, look at me, I got something for you. When these platforms capture your attention, what they do is they take your eyeballs, and right before you watch that video or in the middle of that video, they take your attention and they sell it to an advertiser for a fee. This is how social media platforms make money. There's a great line in the social media world, perhaps you've heard it. If you're not paying for the product, congratulations, you're the product. And so if you're not paying for Instagram, if you're not paying for Facebook, if you're not paying for YouTube, you are the product that they are selling. And they make billions of dollars every year on it. Now you might be thinking, why are we talking about this in church and what does that have to do with Jesus? Great question. Turns out, when we give our attention and our time to these platforms, to our smartphones, to our devices, at the rate that we're doing, it is not nothing. And it has a profound and often negative effect on our physical well-being, and I would argue today on our spiritual health and our formation. And so earlier this year, Pastor Eric asked me to share on this topic. And so my problem that I have today is that there are no verses in the Bible that specifically talk about social media or algorithms or smartphone addiction. And my preference as a preacher is to do what's called exegetical preaching, which is a $15 seminary word that means open the Bible and read it silly. And so I can't preach how I want to preach and how I like to preach. So I've got to be a little creative in how I share with you what I know. So here's my plan, okay? I want to run it by you real quick. I first want to share with you where we are from a technology perspective in history when it comes to communication. Then I want to share a little of my story and how I went from becoming a pastor for 20 years to becoming a full-time YouTuber, which is a complete and natural career progression. It's not weird, you're weird, okay? Then I want to peel back the curtain and reveal to you exactly how these algorithms work so that if you are going to engage with social media, you're at least aware of what is happening to you on the other side of the screen. And if you bear with me at the end, I'll bring in some scriptures and apply them to everything that you know. And I'll share with you a couple of burdens that I have as a pastor, as a follower of Jesus, and some things that I wish every follower of Jesus knew when they're engaging with content online. So that's my plan. Does that sound okay with you? No? Okay. So plan B, you're going to love this one. Plan B is I had a banger 55-minute sermon on Leviticus that I could hack out. We try to get it down to 50 minutes so we could do that instead, right? I'm joking. I do not have a 55-minute sermon on Leviticus. It's 90 minutes. All right. We are in the greatest shift in communication technology that we've experienced as humans in the last 600 years, right now, the time that we're living in. We're experiencing a bit of an earthquake, a bit of a revolution when it comes to communication and technology. 600 years ago, slightly less, the printing press was invented, and it changed the world and how we communicate. For the first time in history, we could take ideas and we could mass produce them at a rate and at a scale never before seen and ship these ideas around the world. The printing press changed the world, changed the church, changed the scriptures. You have a printed copy of the Bible in large part because of Gutenberg and his invention 600 years ago. We are living in an era where a new printing press has been invented. When you take the invention of the personal computer, the internet, the smartphone, and the social media platforms, you put all four of them together. Does anyone get the Al Gore joke? Okay, I was wondering, I was like, should I put that on there? Because that one time he said he invented the internet, and we all know he didn't invent the internet. So I just like to poke him sometimes. Squirrel? Okay, so you take all four of these pieces of technology and you put them in a pot, and you have something that is far greater than the printing press. The internet, just in the past 20 years, has proven to be significantly more powerful when it comes to spreading information and misinformation. If you're a creator, an author, a leader, a teacher, an artist, or someone who wants to take ideas and put them out into the world, it has never been easier, faster, and cheaper to do so. And the quality is pretty amazing. It's in 4K. However, because of that, it has never been harder to have your message heard because of the sheer content of that is being created by lots of people doing the same thing, because it's easy. Every single day, over 5.1 billion pieces of content are uploaded to these major platforms every day. 5.1 billion pieces of content. That's kind of hard for us to wrap our head around. 5 billion. If we just double click on YouTube and we look at YouTube alone, the largest app on smart TVs and on screens, 5 million videos are uploaded to YouTube every single day. Okay, that's still hard for us to wrap our heads around, so let's think of it like this. 500 hours of video is uploaded to YouTube every minute. Since I started talking to you about the printing press, 25 hours of video have already been uploaded to YouTube. These platforms have a giant problem on their hands. YouTube specifically has a 500 hour a minute problem. When that amount of data and content is being uploaded to your servers, the problem then is, how do you take those videos and match them to viewers that want to see them at scale? And most importantly, how do you not show videos people don't want to see to them? Because if people log on, whether it's Facebook or YouTube or whatever, and you start to see things you don't care about that have no interest in you, are you going to spend a lot of time on that platform? No. You're not going to give your eyeballs or your attention to it. And if you don't give your attention to what's on these platforms can't sell your attention to an advertiser. And if they can't monetize your attention, they're not going to make money. If you don't make money, you're going to go to business. And you can quickly see how this 500 hour a minute problem threatens the existence of Silicon Valley. So they came up with a solution, and it actually works really well. Their solution to this problem is what I sarcastically call the almighty algorithm. Now, you may have not heard of that word algorithm since you took pre-cal in high school, but it's one of the most significant pieces of technology in our lives, and most people have no idea how it's affecting their lives, especially teenagers, especially teenage girls. So, how do I know this? I spent 20 years as a full-time pastor from 2002 to 2022. 15 of those years I was a church planner in San Antonio. 10 of those years I was a lead pastor of a church that we planted downtown in the urban core of San Antonio. Early on in my pastoral life, I was a bit of a workaholic, and I did not know how to turn my brain off when it came to resting and relaxing. And as a result, in my late 20s, I started to burn out because I just couldn't figure out how to rest and recharge. Went to a counselor, and his name was Rick. He was amazing. And he told me that my problem was I worked with my mind, but I didn't have a way to rest with my hands. And he suggested I take up a hobby with my hands, and that would help my mind disengage from all of the stress and the pressures in the ministry. So I looked at like fishing or golfing. That was expensive. Gardening sounded like a lot of work. Painting, drawing, no. Jesus was a carpenter. Why not woodworking? So I took up woodworking as a hobby, and I've always been a bit of a maker and a creative, and so I fell in love with woodworking. Also, I was really good at graphic design and Photoshop, and I made videos for the youth group all the time. And eventually, I started to make videos about the woodworking projects that I was making. And I needed a way to share them because you can't email a video to your friends that's like 500 megabytes. So I uploaded my videos to YouTube just to share with my friends so they could see what I was up to. Had no intention of it becoming a career, had no intention of making money. I didn't know you could make money on YouTube. Some of you here are like, you can make money on YouTube? Yeah, you can make a lot of money on YouTube. Don't do it, though. Especially you young people, do not do it. So that's a joke, you could do it. Okay, so in 2019, our church was thriving. We had outgrown our physical space, and we were in a warehouse. We were technically the first thing on the Riverwalk in San Antonio, technically. And we just couldn't grow. And there was a school across the street from us that had an auditorium that they wanted to rent. So we went from becoming a permanent church for 8 years to becoming a portable church, which I was not thrilled with, but there really wasn't an option. So we became a portable church in a school on the first Sunday of January of the wonderful decade of 2020. You're ahead of the story. It was amazing for 10 weeks. And then this little bitty virus changed the world. And overnight, like that with a news report, we were kicked out of the school. The school shut down for a year. All of our equipment was locked in the school for a year. And we went over a year without meeting in person. That was fun. We tried everything from Zoom. I just threw up in my mouth, excuse me. It's got like a PTSD sting from like that. If I re-triggered you, I apologize. We tried services on YouTube. We tried backyards, front porches, parks. We tried everything. Then there was the social disruptions and the political stuff and all that. That was a fun time, let me tell you. And after 2 years, we slowly lost people. They moved away. They stopped coming to church. They got out of the habit of coming to church every week. And after 2 years of just being in crisis mode, myself and all of our leaders and our staff were just burnt out. And our church had dwindled down from about like 180 to about like 30. And by the time we finally found a church that we could rent at an off period to meet, there was just no more gas in the tank for anybody, and it was clear that it was time for us to close doors. It was the most painful and hardest season of my life, and to plant a church and lead it for a decade, and then with circumstances outside of your control, have it die, was so difficult. I went on a long sabbatical. I'd been in ministry for 20 years. I needed a break. And my therapist and my spiritual director recommended that I continue to do woodworking projects and make videos just as a way to like walk through my grief and to heal and to try to feel normal. And so I did that. Halfway through this process, I started to get a sense that God was not calling me to go back into full-time vocational ministry, but that, and it didn't make sense, that he wanted me to pursue this YouTube thing full-time. I was approaching 40, had 3 kids, and to go from being a pastor to a YouTuber was like a red sports car away from looking like a midlife crisis. I didn't want to do that, and so I really wasn't sure that this was God, so I talked to my wife, and I said, hey, honey, what do you think if I didn't be a pastor anymore? What do you think if I was a YouTuber? And, the Holy Spirit usually speaks through our wives, right, man? All the women are like, duh, yeah? I was really afraid of what Shari would say. She said, honey, I would really love it if you did not go back into the church business, because that was not very fun, Any spouse who's had someone in it, you know what she was feeling. So talked to my counselors and pastors, elders, and everyone discerned, yeah, we think God's calling you to do this weird thing on YouTube. So I went all in. I did everything I could do, and for 18 months, I gave it my best. And in 18 months, I made 40 videos. I had combined 400,000 views, which sounds like a lot, but not a lot when it's your full-time job. I had, I think, less than 3,700 subscribers in that year and a half. And I don't know if you can see there on the top right, I made less than $2,000 on YouTube in that year and a half. When I looked at my 3 beautiful boys, one of them being a newborn, and I saw that on average I made less than 10,000 views per video, and I made less than $50 a video, I had to face the brutal facts that $48 a video was not going to buy diapers. And so I did what any reasonable father would do in that moment. I decided to quit YouTube. Clearly, I had heard wrong. Clearly, God had not called me to do this thing. And it was a big delusion. So I quit. Now, I'm not a quitter, even though I quit YouTube, but I was about 3/4 of the way through a video, and I wanted to finish this video, upload it. That'd be my swan song, and I'd walk away. I had a vacuum that I bought from Home Depot on Black Friday years ago for $29. It's a typical shop vac. And in the woodworking world, there's this high-end bougie brand called Festool that is the Louis Vuitton of woodworking tools. They have a vacuum. It's not $29. It was about $700. And so if you're wondering, what's the difference between a $700 vacuum and one that I see at Home Depot? I know, right? That's what I wanted to know. And so I made the great financial decision without my wife's knowledge to buy one of these $700 vacuums and make a video about it. She was thrilled with that decision. So I made this video, I uploaded it, and I walked away. And God had different plans, and he touched that video, and it went viral, and it got 110,000 views in the first 12 days. On my last video that I quit with, it went on to get over 1.4 million views. I think it got me 7,000 subscribers, and it made just under, if you can see that, $9,000. Technically $8,995, but I'm a pastor, so we round up with pastor math. When my wife saw that this video got over 1 million views and made $9,000, she sat me down for a serious conversation. She said, "Honey, are there any other expensive vacuums you need to buy?" I said, "Yes." As I studied that video, I discovered that there were two things I did on accident in that video that I was quitting with. I'm going to share with you that in a moment. But I did these two things that gave signals to the algorithm, and YouTube promoted that video like it was the greatest thing on earth to like tens of millions of people. And people that I didn't know, people that had never heard of me, were interested in this video, clicked on it, watched it, and YouTube made a lot of money, and they split half of it with me, and I got half of that. So basically for the last 4 years, that's all I've done is I've taken those two things that I learned, I've applied them to my channel, and I've gotten over 28 million views. And I think, I don't really pay attention because it's meaningless, but I think I have over 320,000 subscribers now on YouTube. And most importantly, I can buy diapers for my kids, who are also out of diapers, so that's a plus. That's good. All right, so moving on, algorithm. What did I do differently on accident? I did two things, okay? Number one, next slide. There you go. I did two things. I'm gonna throw some jargon out. I need you to lock in, okay? If you use social media, please follow me, okay? I did two things. Number one, that video on accident had what's called a high CTR, or a high click-through rate. Meaning, out of 1,000 times YouTube showed this video, how many times did people click on it? The higher that number, the more interesting that piece of content is. The lower that number, the more boring it is, okay? Also, it had a higher, what's called AVD, or average view duration, which meant a lot of people watched it. Looking back, I never paid attention to these metrics, and a lot of my older content had low CTR and low AVD, meaning people weren't interested, obviously, and people weren't watching, obviously, and so I wasn't making any money. On this video, I made a piece of content that inherently was interesting to millions of people. And I did something I'd never done before. I put the result at the end of the video, and I kind of tricked people to watch the whole thing. And so I had a high average view duration. When YouTube saw those metrics, they said, whoa, we have a piece of content that is worth us sharing because we can make a lot of money in advertising. So CTR and AVD, that's the key. So, class, let's have a little pop quiz, okay? This is important. Okay, so check this out. Video A is made by someone who's a subject matter expert. They're rigorous in their research, and 100% of the information in this video is accurate. However, they don't know Photoshop, they don't know graphic design, they don't understand color theory, they don't know human psychology, they don't know how to write a title or a headline. And so the CTR is like really, really low. It's not an interesting video. And they don't know how to organize information, they don't know how to storytell, they don't really have a personality, and the video is kind of boring. So the AVD, the average view duration, is really low. However, it's 100% correct. That's video A. Video B is in the same niche, same subject. This person is not as rigorous in their research, and about half of it is misinformation. It's just wrong. Not out of malice, they just are regurgitating things they've heard that they thought are true, but they're not. They didn't verify, they didn't fact check. It's just half of it's wrong. But they know marketing, they know human psychology, they know color theory, and they know how to package a video. And they know how to storytell, they have a personality, they're charming, they know how to trick people to watch throughout the end. That video has a high click-through rate and high average view duration. You're interested in this subject matter, but when you open your phone, there's only one spot of real estate that's very valuable that the platform can put this video in. Which video is the platform going to recommend to you? Video A or video B? What's the answer? You're so smart. Video B. because that video will make the platform and the creator money. Whether it's true or not, or whether it has misinformation, is irrelevant. They're in the business of advertising. Now, if that's on a vacuum, who cares, okay? But what if you're watching content and it starts to drift into things like politics, or the meaning of marriage, or the meaning of sexuality, or gender, or war, or abortion, or whether the scriptures are true or not, whether Jesus was actually who he said he is, or whether the church is helpful, or whatever. What if you start to consume content and are put content in front of you? You should not assume that it is put in front of you to help you follow Jesus. It is being chosen and it is put in front of you because you are more than likely to click on it, engage with it. And if you do that, your attention that you are giving can be monetized. Especially if you're young, what can happen is these people you follow, who are influencers, very subtly can start to shape and form and influence your worldview without you even knowing it. That's why we're talking about it on Sunday. So here's my pastoral concern. Ephesians chapter 5 says, "Look carefully then how you walk, not as unwise, but as wise, making the best use of the time, because the days are evil." Raise your hand if you think that the days we are living in are kind of evil, are really evil. Yeah, the days we're living are evil. It's hard to make the best use of your time and to be present with what God is doing in your life and where the kingdom of heaven is breaking in all around you if you are addicted to your smartphone, the internet, or social media. The average American adult spends 5 hours a day on their smartphone. Half of that is on social media. 5 hours a day is the average adult. 7 days a week, I'm not great at math, but I'm pretty sure 5 times 7 is 35. 35 looks a lot like approaching a full-time job. The average American spends the equivalent of a full work week on a smartphone. And half of that is on social media. For teenagers, it's far worse. Over half of teenagers report spending time online all day. They're chronically and consistently online. And also their brains are more easy to be formed. And especially with girls, the research on the effect on their emotional and mental health is not great. I want to make a suggestion to you, especially if you're a parent. Don't call it screen time. Call it formation time. Because if you are putting your eyes on something for hours out of the day, it is not nothing. And the information that you are feasting on will form what you think about the most important things in the world. And so we should see our time online, not as screen time, but as formation time, because you are being discipled everywhere at all times by everybody. Second, Romans chapter 12. We'll just jump to verse 2 for the sake of time. "Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." If you think that if you are going to use social media or be on the internet for a significant amount of time, and that by default you are going to naturally drift towards Jesus and his way and his kingdom, my brothers and sisters, you are deceiving yourself. When an algorithm that is designed to make money, it will produce content. It'll recommend content that's producing money. And in the advertising world, there's a saying, if it bleeds, it leads. This is why the news is the way the news is. What will be suggested to you will be the most extreme, the most polarizing, and the most salacious content that gets a strong reaction out of you. That's what sells. And if you're a follower of Jesus, and if you're not careful, you can, without knowing it, over time, be conformed to the pattern of the world, not Jesus. That's my burden as a pastor and as a content creator. Okay, I want to be clear. Using social media and using technology is not the issue. Blind and unguarded use is the issue. I kind of like fire. If you put fire in a fireplace, it can heat your home in the winter. You put fire under a griddle, you can cook a meal when you're hungry. But if you give fire to a child who doesn't know what they're doing, they will burn the house down. And right now, people in Silicon Valley, there's a saying that goes around Silicon Valley, especially if you include AI into this conversation. The people who invented these technologies, what they think is that, I'm quoting people here, is that it seems like right now in 2026, man has rediscovered fire with the internet, social media, and AI. And the jury is out on whether we're gonna learn how to cook with it or if we're gonna burn our civilization down. That is how the people who invented these technologies think about it. So if you are addicted to your phone for hours out of the day, blindly using it, my friend, I hope that today, even though I didn't get to read a bunch of scriptures to you, that this is a wake-up call, that you are being formed when you follow and you are being influenced online. Okay, last scripture. Proverbs chapter 4. You can turn there with me if you would like. Proverbs 4, verse 20. We'll read 7 verses here. And I want you to notice, see if you can notice a theme involving your body. Proverbs 4, verse 20 says, "My son, be attentive. Be attentive to my words. Incline your ear to my sayings. Let them not escape you from your sight. Keep them within your heart, for they are life to those who find them, and healing to all their flesh. Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life." I read that again. Keep your heart with all vigilance, for from it flow the springs of life. Put away from you crooked speech, and put devious talk far from you. Let your eyes look directly forward, and your gaze be straight before you. Ponder the path of your feet, then all your ways will be sure. Do not swerve to the right or to the left, and turn your foot away from evil. Notice the pattern here. Attention, ears, sight, heart, eyes, and path. The writer of Proverbs did not know what an algorithm was, but they understood attention. And they understood that what you repeatedly put before your eyes has a way of getting into your mind and your heart. And whatever you put in your mind and your heart will have an impact and an influence on the path that your feet take. And so my hope for you today is that as you engage with technology, as you use social media in whatever form you choose to, that you would be wise, that you would be informed, that you'd be equipped, and that the next time you click on something and watch it, you would ask, if I follow this person, if I listen to this influencer, are they going to help me follow Jesus and his kingdom and his teachings of love? Are they going to influence me to do that? Or will they put a stumbling block in my call to be a disciple of Jesus? And if you're not sure of that answer, or if the answer is no, I pray you'd have the courage to unfollow that person and to refuse to feast on content like that, because Jesus Christ is the most important person you could ever follow in this world. And he has proven over 2,000 years to be the most consequential influencer in the universe. And may your life and your mind and your heart and your emotions and all of who you are be shaped by him and his love and his truth, and not by the world, the flesh, or the devil. Amen. I don't know, maybe Leviticus might have been a little less painful. Could have done that. Would you stand with me as we close out?